again. So my name is Crystal, and today in this episode, and I'm peeking down at my notes. Yes, I promise I'm not just giving you side. This is not scripted, but I try to keep notes just to make sure I am literally staying on topic. But today's topic is the empath's journey, loving without losing yourself. Big topic, right? Well, it's so interesting because as I was researching this subject, and a lot of this probably really came into mind because after doing as many readings as I've been doing, especially lately, so most of them, I should say, most of them, 98% of them are about relationships and how important these really are to us and things like that. And it really made me start thinking, especially because a lot of the questions you were asking, there was so many people asking, is somebody coming back? Are they going to give me another chance? Is this going to work out? And the energy around it was interesting to look at it because I'm looking at it through the eyes also of somebody who's been in that place, to be in the place where so much of your heart is so wrapped in and around another person. There is that sense of even loss beyond, even if you're still in a relationship, you can still feel alone and be in a relationship. You could be living with someone and feel alone. And as empaths, our I guess our biggest challenge is the way we're made. We're wired to love, to be loving and supportive, and that's how we're wired. We're also wired to feel and sense others' emotions, and that to partner together can be a very heady mix where you're instantly drawn by nature to want to love and to give and to support. But where is the line drawn when so many of us have found ourselves in the position where we're literally taking energetically pieces of our heart and soul out of ours to fill in the holes and wounds of others? The level of wanting to love and to help and to heal, to be able to be at that point, is intense. It's huge. And it's a responsibility, unfortunately, that us as empaths are not ever really supposed to take on. And so the more I thought about this, I said, out of all the subjects, I really want to talk about this because even in my personal journey, where I also found myself in a relationship, I can remember not even what I was doing, but I remember the thought that hit me out of the blue, that really hit me in my heart space, that woke me up, was a lot about the whole feeling of, it's so funny because I think of it, I want to think about what was happening, but whatever was happening in that moment, somewhere crystal clear in the middle of that uncertainty, that the not having clarity, this clarity rose up in me, and I heard myself saying, I can't love you and love myself at the same time. And I remember how profound that moment was, that it silenced all the chatter around me. And it was that moment of, it was a beautiful moment of clarity, but it was incredibly heartbreaking at the same time. And my biggest wish in this is to help others. We're all empathically wired, but many of us are incredibly higher sensitives than others. Our sensitivity is kind of way out there. Hold on. I got a little message popping up on my screen. Sorry about that. What can I say? It's not scripted. But so back to what we were talking about. So as I was thinking about this subject and it came up, like I said, in these readings, I really wanted to be able to talk about this. Talking from a place of somebody who understands. I've been there. I'm going to be 55 in May in 2025. And so this is something that has been something that I have struggled with my whole life until very recently, till about a year and a half ago, where I separated from a relationship that was very toxic, where it was, I was in a situation where I couldn't love them and love myself at the same time. And it's taken me a year and a half of comeback to get there, but it has brought a level of clarity across the board in my whole life. My friendships, my relationships with family, all of these things made me realize it's not it's not my purpose, or it's not any empath's or highly sensitive person's purpose to go to the extreme of pulling pieces of our heart and soul out to heal and fill the holes and wounds in another. But how do you have that balance? How do you be able to be in relationships and be fully present and be able to love deeply, but not where it's coming at a price of what's in here? So that's the focus of today. I know that's a whole lot, but it's so important. Everything, even when we are in relationships with work, like I said, friendships, all of these things, it's all about, I know you hear the term healthy boundaries, but what does that really mean? What does that really mean when you are by nature somebody who wants to love and support others? How do you do that from a healthy place, I guess, or from a place where you're actually being replenished? Well, part of this, and we're going to talk about this, I'm going to go through, I've got my whole list here so I don't go off subject, but the biggest part about this is that's our desire. We want to love and to give. That's what makes us the happiest. It lights us up to be in that position. So how do we get to be in that position? That's what we're going to talk about. I'll make sure we get to the list, but that's the most important things that I wanted to share. So let's talk a little bit, like I said, the guide to loving without losing yourself, right? So the first thing we're going to kind of do is let's go ahead. This is a big subject, and there's going to maybe a lot of emotions that may rise up or things that may click into place, and you're like, okay. So the first thing I think we should do is, we're probably right now stuck in, I call our hamster wheel up there. We're up there spinning around. Now we're thinking about all these things and how it connects. Let's go ahead and pull that energy back down to our power center, which is our heart space. So just take one hand over this, like this, right over your heart. So if you have them in the right space, when you're talking, you would feel the vibrations right through the palms of your hands. So what we're going to do is we're going to close our eyes. We're going to take a deep breath in. We're going to take a deep breath out. And we're going to feel that energy come back to our power center, because our heart chakra, our heart space, this is where we love from. Yes, incredibly important. But this is also where our inner GPS system, our navigation system, is in here too. This is the seat of our soul. This is who we are on a soul level. This is also where our inner child lives. So, and that's incredibly important. So those three incredibly powerful things, this is our power center. So if we find ourselves even in this subject or any, where we feel like we've got that hamster wheel going on and the anxiety is kicking in and our brain is going a mile a minute, take a moment to imagine you're pulling that energy back down to center, and do the same thing, hand over heart, breath in, breath out, and you're back here. So I want to make sure we get centered back here, because everything we're going to go into is all about how to nourish and replenish your own heart, so you will be able to do what you are wired to do, which is to love and to give. But we want to make sure we're not doing that from an empty cup. So first thing, like I said, is the most important thing is we're resetting the energy. We're getting back out of here, back down to our heart space, because remember, inner GPS and all the important things about that, right? So the first thing is, I picked up a couple of quotes that I put in here that really are pretty profound. And so the first one is, especially feels important after what I was talking about, not being able to love yourself and another at the same time. This quote really hits. It says, "You are not required to set yourself on fire to keep others warm." So I don't know if you've heard that quote before. I have, and every time I hear it, I get a little chill, because it is very profound, but it is there's a lot of clarity in that. Let's talk about that. So, because we want to learn how to be able to love deeply, which is one of our desires, our big desires of how we're wired, right? Okay, but we want to do it without losing ourselves. So, first thing is, let's go ahead about the difference between feeling and absorbing, because those are two incredibly different things, but the difference is the difference in the whole premise of what we're talking about today. There's the difference between feeling emotions of others and all of that, and actually absorbing those into our energy field. Incredibly important. So let's talk about that, because probably the biggest thing about that is, so let's talk about what is the challenge as empaths with this, right? It's because we don't just feel emotions, right? I don't have to tell you this. We absorb them. We're wired that way, but we're going to talk about what to do to make sure that that wiring is in a good flow state, okay? And we need to understand how to recognize when we're holding emotions that are not our own, which is another thing that can drain us. Super important, right? So in this topic of between feeling and absorbing, the quote for this one is, an empath's job is to feel, not to fix. So let's talk about that. So there's a difference to feel, but not to fix. That's the difference between feeling and absorbing and holding another person's emotions or feelings. Okay. So let's talk about what the real difference is. So yes, as empaths, from the moment we wake up, I don't know about you, but I don't even have to have both eyes open and I'm already picking up so much information. I may be thinking about things from yesterday. I may be thinking about stuff that I want to get done today. All of these things start racing around in my head and I don't even have both eyes open yet. I'm not even physically awake, none of that. So first things first, it's very interesting how those first couple of moments as we start to wake up, especially as an empath, because our body's just starting to wake up, our brain's just starting to wake up, but our sensors are already lit up with a whole big job board of information coming at us in 50 directions, right? So the first thing to do to get out of, remember I said the difference between feeling and absorbing, because we can feel it. So when we wake up, we're just waking up, we are in our empath mode. We are feeling all of these things. But there's a choice between absorbing them in or feeling them and releasing them or transmuting the energy. So let's talk about that. So there's an exercise that I do with my clients, and it can be used for anything. But the biggest important thing, it takes 1 minute in the morning and 1 minute at night. But it's incredibly important because what it really is doing is it's getting you out of this back down here. And remember, this is our power center. So let's talk about that exercises. So as you start waking up in the morning, before you pick up your phone, before you start your to-do list, start thinking about yesterday, before you let all of that information that's coming at you really absorb in, the first thing you need to do, one hand like this, one hand like this, you're right over your heart space. That helps you bring your power and energy focus back down here. Take a deep breath in. Take a deep breath out. And then say the words, thank you. And take a moment to really feel the vibration of those words against the palms of your hand as it vibrates through your heart. And I want you to do this cycle 3 times. Now, why is this incredibly important? Well, first of all, it's taking you out of that hamster brain that's not doing any good. That's just burning energy, right? Bringing you back down to your power center, especially as an empath. This is it. This is our power center, our seat of our soul, right? So bringing that energy back down here. Now, why did I use the words thank you instead of I love you or any of those other things? Well, thank you. Those words hold the power of gratitude. And it can feel so many times that being an empath can feel like a burden, or it can feel like a heavy weight to carry. But to be able to love and to be able to be so empathically in tune with others' emotions is actually a gift, especially once we learn how to use it well to replenish ourselves. Then it gives us all of the nutrients energetically to be able to love others, but not from a place of from starving ourselves to do it. Okay. So like I said, hand over the heart, deep breath in, deep breath out, the words, thank you. Do that 3 times. Now, throughout the day, we're human. We're going to have times where we're going to feel like our anxiety is raising. We're going to feel overwhelmed. Maybe we're going to start feeling a bunch of other emotions, or just emotions, and we're not sure whose they are. One hand over the heart, take a breath in, breath out. Talk to your heart and say, are these mine? Ask, and your heart knows. Remember, this is your GPS, your navigation system. Ask, are these emotions I'm feeling, is this mine? Is this anxiety mine? 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be yours. So in that moment, when you're asking that, take a breath in and be like, okay, I'm going to now breathe in everything I'm feeling about it, and I'm going to breathe out and release it. I know it sounds simple, but believe it or not, it can be that easy. So throughout the day, when you start feeling things that don't feel positive or feeling negative, feeling anxious, any of those things, hand over the heart, breath in, breath out. And like I said, most likely it's going to not be anything that originated from you, because we are like the sensor system of the whole universe, right? Okay. So that is something you can do throughout the day. So what do you do at the end of the day? Because before you go to sleep, we're getting ready to physically rest, but we're going to get ready to energetically rest. So you're going to need to do the same thing. But right before you do this, and this is incredibly important, especially about the subject we're talking about today, is the exercise right before you go to bed, before you do this. And the gratitude, again, is you need to take a moment. And I always say, get used to checking in with your heart, because this is our brain. This is where we're going to a whole subject of how there's so many actual brain cells in our heart. This, as empaths, this is our brain. We think and feel everything through here. This is the seat of our soul. So when you put the hand over here, take a deep breath in. And I want you to think about anything that you feel that is weighing on you. You feel any energy, you feel drained, any of that. When you breathe in, you're breathing in all of those feelings, and then release. Because there's a very good chance throughout the day you've picked up emotions, kind of like the lint filter in the dryer. You've been picking up all of these things all day, and they're not all cleared out yet. So taking a moment to put a hand on your heart, breathing in all of those things that you're feeling, validate them, breathe them out, and release them. Because before you go to sleep, you don't want to carry the weight of any energy you're carrying here, the weight of the energy setting over your shoulders, like this feeling responsible for everybody else's, feelings and emotions and all of those things. And what is weighing over our mind? What is our worry? Because any of these energies are not going to we can't do anything with them when we go to sleep, but they're going to hold us back from getting a deep rest, which we really need. Plus, this is getting you into the habit of learning, discerning what is really your emotions and what is everybody else's. And this is also a good way of keeping up energetic hygiene, so to speak, because you're checking in with your heart space. You're clearing out anything that is not of yours anymore and releasing it out. This is going to help you feel lighter. It's going to help you feel more clarity. And the most amazing part of this little minute in the morning, minute at night routine is when you physically go to sleep, you're not going to sleep with the weight of all of this stuff on you, which is holding you back from deeply resting, even energetically. That's why you can go to sleep for 10 hours and feel like you didn't get any rest. This is why, because as empaths, it's almost like there's this giant weighted blanket, and not a comfortable one, weighing on us energetically with all this other energy we've picked up all day long. So it's a good way to go ahead and release that out. So that's a good thing, learning the difference between feeling and observing, because you can feel things. Like I said, in the beginning of the morning, I was feeling all of these things. But as it started, I'm like, okay, but I'm not going to absorb it. I'm not going to carry the weight of this throughout the day, because it's not going to help me or the people that I care about. Okay, so next one. What is the next one? Ooh, this is a hard one. The art of sacred boundaries. Ooh, goodness. It's how to say no with grace and love. This is going to be a good one. It's going to be hard, so I'm going to have a lot of humor in this one, because we're going to get through this, my dear, because this is actually when you start exercising your no, your yes gains its value back. We're going to talk about that. Okay, so yes, how to say no with grace and love. We're going to talk too about energy clearing things with this too. And let's talk about the quote for this one, the one that's going to help open our perception on this. It says, daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves even when we risk disappointing others. It's a powerful statement. And it's interesting that so many of us have along the lines throughout our whole life, and don't feel bad. I have been there myself too. And we have been in the position of choosing others, or feeling that we have this obligation to choose others always above ourselves, and we are never on that list. So another reason why that exercise where we start in the morning with the gratitude, one of the most important things about that, besides connecting with our heart space is we are also filling our heart with love and gratitude first thing in the morning. So we're not soul hangry throughout the day, which makes a big difference. And it helps us a lot in being able to do those healthy no's to be able to protect the sacredness of our yes. Okay. So let's talk about, sacred art of boundaries. So how do we really do this? And, how do we say no with love and grace? How do we do that? Well, one of the most important things about that, and let's look at it this way. So like the exercise in the morning where I'm talking about filling your heart with love and gratitude first thing in the morning, you're also teaching your heart that that's what you deserve, love and gratitude and attention first thing in the morning. You're setting that boundary at a nice high state. So throughout the day, that is the energy that you're putting out. Because also, besides the fact that we have these amazingly huge, beautiful, loving hearts, we transmit that love energy all the time. But we can only transmit what we actually have in reserves. So if we're not refilling our cup and then we go through our day, we're going to be soul hangry. I don't know about you, but I don't go grocery shopping if I'm hungry, because guess what? Then you're going to buy a bunch of stuff that you don't even really want because you're hungry. You're not making good decisions. It's the same thing with energy. And most important, this is how we end up starting our day with a full tank. Now, throughout the day, that other exercise, hand of the heart, when you're doing that, breathe in, breathe out, checking in, is that someone else's energy? Just the method or the process of hand touching to the heart, you're triggering your brain to remember what you just did that morning, which means you're also connecting with your heart space, filling it back up with love and gratitude. And so you're not running on E again. Same thing at the end of the night. So this process is incredibly important because we need to nourish ourselves. We need to do this. It's the most important thing. Our desire deeply, literally in the cells of our body, is to love and to support and to be kind and giving. But the interesting thing is so many of us empaths never put ourselves on that same list. And so that's a twofold thing. It is also putting out the energy to the universe that we put ourselves last. So the interesting thing is many times the universe will hear that call, and it's not to be negative, it's matching energy. It's how the universe works. It's not a judgmental thing. It's energy matches energy. So when the energy that you're radiating out from first thing in the morning is, I put myself last, it's very interesting how many elements will show up. Getting stuck with extra things, okay, you're going to have to take care of this at work. Oh, wait, you got to handle this. You got to do that. All of these things start coming through you. It's even how relationships come in. They will come in with that energy of somebody that will put us last because it's just matching our energy. So the best way to be healthy and to put in those healthy boundaries is by putting ourselves first on that list, which is not a selfish act. It is actually one of the most self-loving things that you can do for everybody in your life, is to fill your cup first. We deserve it. It's one of those things that's, how do you expect to give to others if you don't have the reserve to do it? Okay, so let's talk about, so now we understand a little more about healthy boundaries and how we can help do those with grace and love, because it is much easier to see somebody with clarity and see someone who really need us in a situation that we are able to give if we actually have something to give. It helps make the decision process. Remember I said when we're hungry or soul hangry, we are not going to make good decisions. So that's a way to help ourselves throughout the day too. So now that we have a little more understanding of how to put healthy boundaries down, see, as hard as that subject was kind of maybe been triggering, which I apologize, my dears, but that's where the good stuff is. When something in any of these things that I'm talking about, because it's always sent in love, if it triggers you, that's telling you, that's just the smoke alarm. That's not a fire. It's just letting you know, hey, here's something that needs a little more love. Okay. So let's go ahead and head into the next subject, part of this subject, I should say. So recognizing soul alignment versus energy draining connections. That's another big one. This is another thing that's something that holds us back from loving from a good place or from a healthy place or for a place of enjoyment. I mean, it's a beautiful thing to want to love and support somebody. It's even better to be able to actually enjoy the process, right? So let's talk about that. So the first thing is to ask yourself the question, and think about this now as we're talking, right? How do you feel after spending time with somebody? Do you feel energized? Do you feel drained, right? So let's think about this. So it's a good way. We're going to learn how to recognize the difference between those who are going to just drain our energy and codependency and of these different things. Because understand, it's not like it's about this to put fear down. We need to protect ourselves. It's about opening our awareness to what is actually going on in this process. And it's a lot easier to be able to do this, remember, because we're practicing filling our own cup first. So now we can look at this from a very beautiful, neutral space where it's not a blame game. It's just like, I want to be able to recognize the energy and be able to discern what is coming towards me so I know how to make a healthy choice for myself and the person that is approaching me with these energies, right? Okay, so we're going to talk about that because you have to understand, we have to honor the relationships that uplift and nurture our souls. But does that mean we're going to be like an island by ourselves with only one or two people that we allow close to us? Because that's fear-based and we don't want that. I want for you to be empowered, to be able to go into any situation, move throughout this world with the freedom and the stability of knowing that you are replenishing yourself and you're not burning yourself out, right? Okay, because that's super important. So how do we do this? So like I said, the first question is, especially to ask yourself, and it's probably a good thing. So after this whole thing that we watch, take a little time, maybe sit down with a pen and paper and ask yourself that question. And it's okay, whatever emotions come up, if you are like, oh gosh, most of the times I feel exhausted, or most of the times I'm like, oh gosh, I don't even want to go out. I just want to hermit at home because I'd rather unpeople because I already feel ahead of time I'm just going to feel drained because I usually do. Well, this is the way to help avoid that so you can actually go and do the things that you would love to do that you are missing out on because you're kind of stuck at home or you're avoiding situations because the fear is there that is going to be draining to you, right? Hold on, let me grab some water. I keep forgetting. I start chatting away and then I can't understand when my throat is dry. Hold on. So, and this whole exercise is not to beat yourself up. Trust me, my list was pretty long when I started doing my own list about this, so don't feel bad, my dear. In this, you're going to be, the biggest thing about this, the amazing thing, is you are going to be empowered to be able to do the things that you love to do, which is to love and give to others. But you're going to be able to do it in a place that feels good and it's actually replenishing. It's the difference between, the best way to explain it, it's the difference between a fountain, like a beautiful fountain in a garden where, all day long it's running. You know why? It's not pouring out new water every time. It is recycling. It's going through the process of renewal. That's why that fountain can keep doing that all day. Too many of us empaths are like the pitcher of water, where we're pouring out until we hit bottom. And many of us are running around with an empty pitcher all the time. So this is going to be the difference. We're going to go from the water pitcher to the water fountain. Okay. So let's talk about what to do about these things. Okay. Say, okay, we're having this conversation. Maybe later on today, you're going to be around other people that oh my gosh, I just know I'm going to get pulled into these situations. Now let's talk a little bit about that. Let's backpedal. Let's remember one of the things I just talked about was about the energy that we emit. So that's the other thing. As empaths, our heart space emits this frequency. So let's make sure the frequency that we're putting out is what we actually want to be able to come back in. Because even with the same people, you are going to see a different energy exchange. It's very interesting. When you are replenishing in here, the interesting thing is when you are in these situations, say you you're doing exercises, you go out, you run into a friend, and usually that friend, they can drag you into a 3-hour conversation and all of these things. The interesting thing is when your heart space is full and you start getting into the practice of, is this my emotions or their emotions, or what are these emotions that I'm processing at this time? And remember, breathe in, breathe out. And that's something you do, people don't even realize, just like, okay, and I'm just doing a breath and I'm like, oh, well, hello. Right away, if this was me in this situation, and I know in the past it's been that, but since I've seen them, I've been doing these exercises. The very interesting thing is, instead of going into the cycle I usually do, is, oh my God, what's going on? How are they feeling? This is going to drain me, and all of those things. Instead of, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I love this person, but they can be draining, and I understand that. So their first thing they usually do is they're sharing what's going on in their life. So I can feel what they are saying. I can be empathic towards what they're talking about, but I don't have to absorb that energy. And the interesting thing is, in that exchange, the difference will be, because I'm not absorbing it, the exchange is not going to be draining for me. I can also be in a better position that maybe we're talking for about 5-10 minutes and I know I need to be somewhere soon. I am in a much better state, instead of being up in that hamster wheel of going around and round and getting so caught up in the energy that's flowing and I'm absorbing it all. Instead, as it's going on, I'm going to say, I really appreciate it. I'm so glad to see you. But I have an appointment I have to be at, but thank you so much. I'm so glad to be able to connect with you. Very different energy but the way that is possible, my heart is already full. It's like someone offering you something to eat, but you're already full. You're like, that's okay. I'm not hungry. Not hungry. Think about that for a minute. Because as empaths, if we're going out into the world and we haven't filled our own cup up with emotions, energy, all of these things, it's all energy, positive or negative, it's energy. So if we don't fill ourselves up throughout the day, when we are around people, we are walking into that situation with a sense of hunger. We want to fill our heart space up. So guess what the first thing would be, intention wise, not realizing, is to absorb and take in all of that energy that's coming from someone else, because we're depleted and not realizing this. So believe it or not, that is going to be one of the most powerful levels of clarity you will have. It's okay. Don't feel bad. It is how we are wired to love and want to give, but we also have a large heart to fill. So if we aren't the one filling it, we are running around with this empty, open hunger space, hunger pains in here. So we will end up absorbing things that are not ours. So in that clarity, now you're getting a better understanding how different. It doesn't mean I can't go out into the world. It just means I need to go out with a good breakfast. I need to go in and fill up my heart space before I leave the house. I need to be more in tune with my heart space and what is going on here, because remember, this is our natural GPS, right? Okay, so now we have an idea of what the difference is about understanding what's soul alignment. Remember, that second part was much more soul aligned. I was giving them, they needed to be seen and validated. They needed somebody to feel what they were feeling. And I was able to do that because I could feel it, but I wasn't absorbing it. And I was able to put my healthy boundaries down, but yet still be loving and kind and letting them know I see them. I feel what you're going through. And I'm so grateful to be able to see you, but I do need to go do this. Much different type of energy. That's the difference. But this is all the difference, because this is a way for you to not have to shelter. There's not a fear base to this. This is for you to be able to flow through anywhere you would like to in life and not feel you're being incapacitated or you want to avoid it because you're just going to get drained, right? Okay, so this is about empowerment. Remember, it's not about fear. Okay, good. So let's talk about the next one. Strengthening your relationship with yourself. Oh, I'm so excited about this one. It's so funny because this one came up about, and it's talking about using the I am statement. So, and I can't remember if it's the last one or the one before, but one of these episodes, go back and look at my podcast. There is one literally the whole thing is talking about the power of the I am statement, and incredibly important for empaths and what we can do to basically strengthen our relationship with ourselves. The two biggest ones would be the exercise where you're connecting with your heart space and doing that. And the other one is the I am statement. Okay. So, and some of the ones to reclaim your energy back, if you want some ideas and doing an energy, and you can also do that. Oh my goodness. They're incredibly powerful if you double it up and do it as a heart exercise. So put one hand of the heart, deep breath in, deep breath out, and then repeat some of these I am statements. I am whole within myself. Whole. I am whole within myself. I am not responsible for healing others at my own expense. I am worthy of a balanced and reciprocal love. Remember I said the water fountain that replenishes itself? Okay? So, and the big thing about this is trusting your intuition and really connecting with your inner GPS. Remember we talked about that? And so the quote for this section is, the relationship you have with yourself sets the tone for every other relationship you have. That means friends, family, romantic relationships. So many of us are in a position where we are not in a relationship with another, but we are not in a relationship with ourselves. This relationship that we have with our own heart and with ourselves is the most important relationship we will ever have. This is, and remember this is our radio station, especially as an empath. So think of it this way. If you are not currently in a relationship right now, but you want to be, of course, we want to connect with others. That desire is very strong to be there. But we want to make sure when we're putting that order, placing our order with the universe, that we're placing it from a place of authenticity. We can't do that if we're stuck up in our head and all of the things. We need to be in our heart space. And we need to be very grounded in who we are as a soul, as a person. We can only do that when we are connecting with our heart space. So working on your relationship with yourself is your empowerment in so many ways. It gives you a position to be in any relationship as a supporting person, because you are already have yourself supported. You're not going into a relationship because you need to. You are going into a relationship because you want to. There's a big difference between those two. And so, like I said, if say you're not in a relationship right now, but yes, you would like to be in one. So how do you make sure that what comes in is going to be a good fit for you? Well, if you are connected with your heart space and you're doing work like the gratitude process and all of that, the energy, the signal that you're putting out to the universe is authentically of your soul. You are sending out the message that I deserve love and gratitude and attention, and I am that partner for myself. That is the message you send out, which means that's the order you place. That means I would like a partner who would show me love and gratitude, and that puts me as an important part of their day, that I am worthy of these things. That is the message. You are sending out a true match to your heart space. So that is what, when a relationship would come in, it would be what we called a soul match. Big difference between twin flame and soulmate. We're going to talk about that too. So what is the difference? We're going to talk real quick about that. What's the difference between a twin flame, a soulmate, or soul match? Because these aren't just for romantic relationships. These are also friendships. People don't realize this. You can have one of these dynamics as a friendship. Okay? So a twin flame, that twin flame connection, these are two, basically, for lack of better words, karmic individuals that when their souls match or meet up, basically, the reaction is like the phoenix, where it's like the clashing, the chemistry, it's push-pull, it's a lot of, it's chaos energy in the sense of trying to break down and release and burn off everything that needs to rise, release, and heal. That is what a twin flame connection is. Okay. A soulmate connection, or the premise that many of it has been talked about, is one about two halves of a whole that make one, which is not accurate. Every soul that is born on this earth is a whole soul. So when you are when you're setting out the energy that I want to find my other half, you're telling the universe, I'm not whole by myself, and I need somebody to be the other half. I need somebody to fill what I don't have. And that energy is going to bring in another individual that is on that same wavelength. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's not a healthy connection that you want to be. If your deep desire is to be in a deeply connected and loving, healthy relationship, that dynamic of the half needing the other half is not a healthy dynamic to be in. A soul match is when you are connected with who you are here. You are having a healthy relationship with yourself. The energy you put out there is authentically you, which means somebody out there with the same heart frequency as you, who loves like you do, who matches you energetically. Personality wise, you may be completely opposites, but a soul match is where those two souls get together and their energy complements each other, not complicates. Very big difference, very important difference. That's how you end up with a partner that is attracted into your life, that matches you heart and soul. It's where you have the chemistry of physical chemistry, emotional or heart chemistry match, and mental chemistry. Even though you two may be completely opposites, your energy together is the perfect soul match. You complement each other, instead of complicate. So yes, so that's the difference between those. So now we have a better understanding of what's going on with that, right? Okay, so, oh goodness, that's kind of like the biggest part. It's so funny. That's why I had the notes, to make sure I was not missing anything. So what do we do now that we've kind of come to the end of like what this big subject that we're talking about? First of all, like I said, remember, go back through my episodes of this podcast, and one of them is all about the power of I am. It's an amazing one. I cannot say enough that there's incredible power behind that statement. People don't realize we use it all the time and don't realize it. Like, I'm so tired, I'm so done, it's a way to take something that's incredibly powerful and use it in a way that is incredibly nourishing to you. So go back and look at that. But let's go ahead. This was a whole lot that we talked about, a lot of big things, talking about things that maybe and hopefully opened up some clarity for you and showing you how empowered you can really be to be who you really are on a soul, cellular level. We are loving, giving, supporting beings as empaths, as highly sensitive empaths. But what a beautiful idea to go from being that water pitcher that's usually on E to that beautiful water fountain that is continuously flowing of energy. Big difference. So let's go ahead and let's take a deep breath. Let's do the hands over the heart. Let's connect one more time with our heart space. So we're pulling that energy back down to power center. Taking a deep breath in, taking a deep breath out. And let's say thank you. Let's show gratitude for this beautiful, beautiful, loving, and supportive heart that we have. These beautiful gifts that we have to be able to empathically connect with another human soul on a deep, beautiful, beautiful level. But to also know that we now are empowered to understand that we do have the resources to do things that are just little adjustments that make incredible difference, that they not only would make it so we can actually enjoy the beauty and the depth of our gifts, but to also be able to do what we want more than anything in the world, which is to love, support, transmute energy into positivity. We want to be able to heal this planet. It is literally within the cells of our body. In these simple steps that I've talked about, this will take you away from the protection, the fear, the hiding away from life, and being able to step into the world that you would like to be a part of and be able to move freely through it, empowered and knowing that you get to be all of the beautiful things that you are. You will get to blossom into your gifts and not close off, and be able to help bring in that beautiful love and healing energy that we all want to do and be able to do in this world, my dears. Okay? So remember, we're going to talk about this. So like I said, little exercise to do later after this. Go ahead, make sure you do the heart exercise first before you sit down. Get a little pad and paper. It doesn't have to be big. It could be a little one like this, and a pen, wherever my pen is. Just a pen and a notepad. Nothing major. Not a piece of paper. Get a little notepad, okay? Because you're going to keep using it for other things. So when you sit down, the question I want you to ask yourself, make sure you're in your heart space. Fill your heart up first so you're not looking at this on an empty heart space, right? And ask yourself, are you overgiving in any of your relationships? And where can you set a gentle, loving boundary? Okay? So I know it's a big question, but it's okay. You've got this. All you need to do is walk through this and you'll be able to do that.